Okay, so, we've all been talking about what happens, legally speaking, when someone tries to say you owe them money.
Right.
And especially when you think, hold on, that's not right. That's not my debt.
Okay.
So today, for this deep dive, we're going to get into this legal process they have in Spain.
Oh, okay.
It's called the proceso monitorio.
Sounds serious.
It does. And the information we're using to unpack this whole thing, it comes from MCHM Abogados.
Okay.
That's MCHM Abogados. They're a law firm over in Almeria. And they do all kinds of law, but they gave us this breakdown of how this specific process works, when someone's trying to get money from you.
Right.
Especially what you can do, if you get hit with one of these demands for payment.
Yeah.
So the goal is to really pull out the key parts of this process so you know what your rights are and what to do if you ever have to deal with this.
I see.
And this understanding comes straight from a firm that deals with these situations all the time. MCHM Abogados, they work with all sorts of clients, everyday people, businesses, even public organizations. And they're all about giving effective, professional legal advice.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we need to understand this stuff.
Absolutely. And they're located in Almeria. So if anyone's in that area and needs some guidance, they can find MCHM Abogados at Calle Santiago Vergara 20. Their main phone number is 950-106-453.
Okay.
And for emergencies, you can reach them at 674-21-6559.
Gotcha.
Their email is info@mchmabogados.es. They're open Monday to Thursday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Fridays from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Good to know.
So you can see this information comes from a reliable legal source.
Exactly. So it sounds like this proceso monitorio thing, it's meant to be a fast way for creditors to get the money they say they're owed. But the information also shows us, what can you do if you're the one they're coming after?
Right.
If you get this official notice, the requerimiento de pago, demanding payment, what are your options?
Exactly.
So first off, what even is this proceso monitorio?
Okay, so basically it's a way for creditors to use the legal system to get back money they say they're owed. It's all laid out in Articles 812 to 818 of the Law of Civil Procedure in Spain. And the big thing for the creditor is it's way faster than a regular trial.
Like a legal express lane.
Yeah, exactly.
So say you're just going about your day and bam, you get hit with this requerimiento de pago, this official demand for payment. What are your choices right then and there?
So you basically have three main options. The simplest one, you just pay the debt. If you agree you owe the money and you pay it all within the time they give you, then that's it.
Case closed.
Exactly. The creditor gets their money, everyone moves on.
Easy enough. Option one, pay up. End of story.
Right.
But what if you look at this demand and think, wait, this isn't right. I don't owe this? What then? That brings us to the second option, which sounds a bit more complicated.
Yeah, this is where it gets a little trickier.
Okay.
Option 2 is to fight back, formally oppose the demand. Now, here's the thing. You absolutely have the right to do this, to say, no way, I'm not paying.
Good.
But, and this is huge, you only have 20 days to do it.
20 days.
From the day you get that requerimiento de pago, you have to submit a written opposition. It's a formal legal document called an escrito de oposición.
20 days. So you got to act fast.
Oh, yeah.
And this escrito de oposición, it can't just be some note saying, nope, don't agree.
No, not at all.
You need solid reasons to back up why you're refusing to pay.
Exactly. Your opposition has to be based on real legal reasons that are recognized, by the law.
Okay.
And our source here, MCHM Abogados, they lay out some examples of what those reasons could be.
Like what?
Okay, so one big one is if the debt doesn't even exist.
Meaning?
Maybe you never actually owed the money in the first place, or maybe you already paid it off.
Oh, I see.
Another one is the statute of limitations. That's prescription in Spanish.
Okay.
Basically, there's a time limit on when someone can legally come after you for a debt.
A deadline.
Right. And the text mentions that for these kinds of debts, it's usually 5 years. So if they're trying to chase you for something older than that...
It's too late.
It might be, yeah.
Gotcha. So those are two solid reasons.
Yeah.
The debt's not real, or it's way past the deadline.
Right.
What else would fly as a valid reason to oppose?
Well, they say any other valid legal reason for refusing payment, that's pretty broad.
It is.
But, it could cover things like if you actually have a claim against the creditor.
A counterclaim.
Yeah, like they owe you money. Or maybe there was something wrong with the original agreement, the contract that supposedly created the debt.
Okay.
It's not enough to just say you disagree. You've got to have legal backing.
Evidence.
Yeah, like if it gets down to a contract dispute, well, then you might need all sorts of documents and a good legal argument to prove that the contract was broken or wasn't valid from the start.
Makes sense. It's got to be more than just not wanting to pay.
Yeah.
There needs to be a strong legal basis.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got those two options. Pay or formally oppose the demand within 20 days, and you better have a good reason. But what if someone gets this notice and just ignores it, just does nothing?
Yeah, option 3, and trust me, this is the worst one.
Really?
If you don't do anything within those 20 days, you don't pay, you don't file an opposition, the court's going to issue something called a decreto de ejecución.
What?
Decreto de ejecución. That's a decree of execution.
What does that mean?
It basically means the court is giving the green light to the creditor to start collecting the debt.
Oh, okay.
And that can get very messy for you.
How so?
The information mentions they could start seizing your assets, embargos a dimiendo.
No.
Yeah. So you ignore that payment demand, you could end up with your bank accounts frozen or even your property taken to pay off that debt.
So?
It's like if the debt is hanging there unresolved, the court steps in and says, okay, that money in your account, that belongs to the creditor now.
So even if you're not sure if the debt is legit or not, it's still crucial to do something within those 20 days.
Absolutely. Don't just stick your head in the sand. Ignoring it only makes things worse.
Gotcha. So we've covered those initial options. You pay, you fight back with a valid reason within 20 days, or you face the music.
Right.
But there's more to it than just those initial choices, right?
Yeah.
Our source also talks about the specific timelines involved in this whole processo monitorio. Knowing those timelines, how everything unfolds, is super important too.
Oh, absolutely. Timelines are essential in any legal process, but especially with the processo monitorio.
Because it's so fast.
Exactly. Everything moves quickly.
So first things first, how long does the creditor have to actually file this claim? They can't just come after you whenever they feel like it.
No, there's a limit. They have to start the processo monitorio within 5 years of when the debt became due, when it was officially exigible.
5 years.
And this ties back to that statute of limitations thing we were talking about. If it's been over 5 years, they might have lost their right to use this process to get their money.
That's really good to know. So say they do file within that 5-year window, what happens next? The information mentions something about needing to correct mistakes.
Right. So even though it's meant to be a quick process, the creditor can still mess up their paperwork. If the court finds some kind of problem, like a defecto, a deficiency in their application, well, they won't just throw the whole thing out.
Oh, that's interesting.
Instead, they'll give a creditor 10 days to fix whatever's wrong.
Okay.
Could be something simple, like a wrong number for the amount owed, or maybe they forgot some documents.
So they get a chance to make sure everything's in order.
Exactly.
And then after that, it comes back around to you, the person they're claiming owes the money.
Right. And this part is super important, so it's worth repeating. Once you get that official requerimiento de pago, that demand for payment, you have exactly 20 days to act. You either pay the entire amount they're asking for,
or file that formal opposition.
Exactly. Those 20 days are crucial. If you miss that deadline, your options get really limited and things can go downhill fast.
So let's say that 20-day window closes and you haven't paid and you haven't filed an opposition. What's next?
Well, that's when the creditor can go back to the court and say, hey, this person hasn't responded. Let's start enforcing this debt. And that's when the court issues that decreto de ejecución, the order to start enforcing.
Okay. And that's when they can start going after your assets, like we talked about.
Exactly.
So there's a clear sequence with strict deadlines at each step. The creditor has 5 years to file. Then they might have 10 days to fix any errors. Then you have your 20 days to respond. And if you don't, they can start taking action to collect. It's all very structured and time-sensitive.
It is. The processo monitorio is all about efficiency. It keeps things moving. So everyone involved needs to understand the deadlines and act quickly.
So basically, the processo monitorio has two sides. On one hand, it's a tool for creditors to recover debts more quickly. But on the other hand, there are protections built in for the person who's being told they owe money, especially if you think the claim is bogus.
Right. It's not just a free pass for creditors. The law gives you ways to protect yourself, but you got to know what those are, and you have to stick to those deadlines. That's crucial.
Knowing your rights and acting quickly, that seems to be the key takeaway here.
Absolutely. And for anyone in Almeria, heck, anywhere in Spain who finds themselves in this situation, well, it's clear that MCHM Abogados, they're a good resource.
Definitely.
Clearly know their stuff based on the overview they provided.
All right, let's do a quick recap of what we've learned about this processo monitorio.
Sounds good.
It's a streamlined legal process for debt claims in Spain. You get an official payment demand, the requerimiento de pago. You've got a crucial 20 days to either pay up or formally oppose the claim in writing. That's the escrito de oposición. And your opposition can't just be random. It has to be based on valid legal reasons, like maybe the debt doesn't exist or the creditor missed that 5-year deadline to file the claim. And if you don't do anything within those 20 days, the court can issue a decree of execution, the decreto de ejecución, which could then lead to them seizing your assets.
Right.
It's serious stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, in most cases, the creditor has 5 years from when the debt was due to start this process.
Exactly.
So all this information in mind, what are some things people can do to make sure they're ready to respond if they ever get hit with one of these demands they think is wrong?
Well, I'd say being organized is key. Keep good records of all your debts, any payments you've made, and any communications with the creditor.
That's smart. Keep everything documented.
Yeah, just in case.
So there you have it. Hopefully, after this deep dive, you have a better understanding of the proceso monitorio and what to do if you ever run into it.
I hope so.
It's not a fun topic, but it's good to be prepared, right?
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.